And if you're sitting in your meditation, and I've done this numerous times, and my body is just looking for an arousal, it can't see possibility. And I want to get up and I want to quit and I want to do something else and I want to check my emails and get back to work. But that's everything that's the known.
I'm your host, Dr. Joe Dispenza. Let's begin.
Many times people stop me wherever I am and say, hey, listen, sometimes I miss a day in doing my meditation, and then sometimes those days turn into 2 days, and then I get busy, and then I don't have enough time, and then I have more obligations and more things to do, and they forget on some level that we came from source, from singularity, from the 0 point field, from pure love, from oneness. And we came into density with such separation from that divine intelligence that we get to have our own free will. And that free will causes us to learn from experiences and evolve who we are. And I always say to them, well, if you've missed your meditations or you stopped doing them or you missed a day, like sometimes people confess to me like I'm a priest or something. I never wanted to be that. But I always say to them, well, eyes open or eyes closed, because let's just break down one of the most important elements for the process of meditation. Instead of waking up in the morning and going through the same routine behaviors that you always do and going unconscious to a series of programs that have been economized in your nervous system so you can focus on other things, we're asking you to take a moment and execute that free will to create. That's greater than those programs of habituation, where you've done something so many times that your body literally can do it better than your conscious mind. And if we have a series of routine behaviors that causes us to go on autopilot, and we do the same thing today as we did yesterday, and we do that for a period of time, it makes sense then that our body as the mind is dragging us into the same future based on yesterday, what we did yesterday, exactly the same. So sitting down in your meditation and remembering that you are creating your life, and it takes a great effort. It takes a lot of energy. It takes a lot of awareness. You can't have consciousness without a change in energy. And to break free from those programs and overcome some aspect of your unconscious self, you're going to have to execute a will, a free will that's greater than those programs. And it takes effort. It takes energy. It takes awareness. And people think when they go unconscious and they catch themselves and they come back and they get frustrated that they've done something wrong. But the tedium in the beginning of catching yourself and returning back to the present moment is this work. It is bringing your brain and body back into the present moment. And our research shows if you do that really well, you could have very significant biological changes in your brain and body, even in your energy field. So, because where you place your attention is where you place your energy, and you're working with the body as the mind to settle it into the present moment and take it out of the known predictable future that so many people rely on, and they constantly are wondering what's going to happen next so they can fill in reality with what they can expect. And the brain becomes an anticipation machine, always dropping in the next known so that the person feels safe because they can predict it. And not being able to predict it creates the anxiety and the fear that causes the stress hormones to be activated. And we're living in quite a time where there's a significant amount of environmental pressures where people can't have the freedoms that they normally typically have. So when you can catch yourself in that predictable future, filling in reality based on the known, and in your meditation practice, returning back to the present moment, you're disinvesting your attention, and where you place your attention is where you place your energy. You're disinvesting your attention in the meditation out of that known future, and you're bringing it back to the present moment. And that's a victory because you're causing more energy to be in the present moment. Now, habits are unconscious programs, and so it's not uncommon that you go to another thought. Well, that's because that's what you've been doing for the last 10 years. And tell me, how else is this going to change? Until you catch yourself enough times and remember that you remember so many times that you forgot that you stop forgetting and you keep remembering. And to remember is to be conscious, and to forget is to go unconscious. So when we can demonstrate that kind of intention back into the present moment, we are telling the body it's no longer the mind, that there's a new mind that's coming on the throne, and it's you being more conscious and more aware and retraining the body. And it takes effort and it takes practice to keep settling the body back down, because it's looking for the arousal of those hormones or emotions that it's become reliant on by its interaction in the environment. So in our meditations, we take away the environment. We close our eyes, we play music, we diminish the amount of sensory information into the brain so that we can construct a new model of reality, a new vision of a future, get a clear intention. And we're not eating, and we're not smelling, and we're not tasting, and we're not moving about and feeling and experiencing. The body is still. You are causing the body to no longer define you, but you're being defined by thought alone. And if you're going to be defined by thought alone, then you have to become thought alone. And if you're going to try to heal your body, if you're your body trying to heal your body, then you're matter trying to change matter. You and I both know it's going to take a lot of time for that to happen. So the process of getting beyond your body is the way that you heal your body. The idea of changing something in your personal reality means you're going to have to forget about your personal reality. And if you're going to do that, and if your personality creates your personal reality, you got to forget about you. You got to overcome you long enough to begin to think and to plan your actions and to feel different ways. And that takes an enormous amount of effort and awareness. So if we're not being defined by a vision of the future, then we are left, for the most part, with the memories of the past. And so then many people keep remembering their past. The memories that are branded in their brain are connected to certain objects, certain people, certain things, at certain times and places. And the moment they think about their problems, they're thinking in the past. And those problems have an emotion that is associated with them. So the combination of the stimulus and response, thought and the feeling, the memory and the emotion, is conditioning the body emotionally into the past. So then the true change happens when that body, which has been emotionally programmed into the past, into the familiar past, the known, you are actually interrupting that process of those feelings that have defined you as a personality that's connected to the past. And yeah, if you can't think greater than how you feel, and feelings and emotions are a record of the past, then you believe your thoughts have something to do with your future. Your past is going to be creating your future. And for the most part, to me, that's karma, because it's the emotion of the past that's causing you to think and act in certain ways, and you're reproducing the same life again. But there's nobody doing it to you. It's that you've lost your free will, your ability to remember that you're the creator. So we're priming the brain and body in our meditations to stay awake and to stay aware in our conscious day. And staying awake in our dream that we're creating is the work. So can you then, by volition, to be able to remind yourself every morning of the thoughts that caused you to return back to some unconscious program yesterday? Can you take a moment, instead of just rushing into your meditation, in your think box, think about how you spoke, how you acted when you lost your focus? And can you begin to look at yourself and observe yourself from yesterday? And given the same circumstances, the same conditions, the same challenges, how would you behave differently? And what would you stop doing? And if you could remind yourself, that is, reproduce that level of mind of who you no longer wanted to be, and remember that that person who's acting in those habitual ways is creating the same future, and you caught yourself with your eyes open because you reviewed the behaviors you were going to overcome, you would remember and stop forgetting. And that would mean then there's a denaturing of your identity, of your personality. And of course, the challenge is not emotionally reacting to your environment, to the emails, the Zooms, the calls, the kids, the chaos, the news, the world, the elections, whatever it is that's causing people to react into the primary emotions of fear and aggression. And if you want to divide a culture, that's a great way to do it. Put them in survival and you'll create more separation. So now, living in survival then means the unknown is a scary place, and we're living in a time where the unknown is just very, very prominent for everybody. Nobody knows what's going to happen. So then, if you could, every single day, remind yourself a simple, basic meditation that we taught with Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. I do this when I go back to basics, and I have a person that I do this with quite a bit, just so that I can speak it. I can vocalize who I'm not going to be, that dipping into the operating system of those habits. If you're going to break any habit, you got to stay conscious and you got to make a different choice. And you can't react and you can't respond to the conditions in your environment that causes those emotions of fear and aggression or pain and suffering. And when we feel those emotions, the next thing we do is we throw in a program, because that's something we know how to do. The problem is that those programs aren't going to work with the way the world is working right now. So then, if you could then get to the point like you were studying for a test, remembering certain ideas, remembering certain concepts, remembering the information, if you could remember and remind yourself that you would catch yourself and not let an unconscious thought slip by your awareness unnoticed by you. Now, this is the act of eyes open now. You practice it with your eyes closed in your seated meditation. I guarantee you, when you get up and you start moving around, if you've done battle with those thoughts, you're going to catch them in your waking day. Now, that's important for you because you're not going to accept them. You're not going to believe in them. You're not going to surrender to them as easily as you did when you were unconscious, because they slip by your analytical mind, and that's what's programming the body into a destiny.